Okay, this is another video, hello, on list boxes. Now, this is one thing I have been wanting to do for a very long time, and I promise you that I would not bother making a video if I could find one on the internet that shows you how to do this. So I want to go to chart 3, excuse me, chart 5, and I want to make a list box. And in my list box, I want to select multiple entries. So I want to make 2 or 3 different graphs. Now, to explain this, so what we're going to do is go to the Developer tab, insert a list box, not a drop-down or combo box, a list box on this graph, and do that. And it's not very easy to do, unfortunately. Notice that we can't put these active X controls on the graph, so we need this one. Now, for me, maybe not for you, but for me, the whole advantage of this developer tab is to be able to take these forms and move them. So we have our sample data here, and we want to select the group of things we want in the graph. Now, we could do this, I suppose, very, very manually by just copying and pasting one at a time. But the list box will help us a lot here. We'll be able to select which of the items we'd like. Okay, now, okay. If I just make a regular list box like this, okay, it, we have to, oh no. If we make, did I select a drop-down box? Excuse me, a combo box. If I make a regular list box, we get something like this. Okay. Now, if you forget where to get the developer, you go to File, Options. After you go to Options, you go to Customize Ribbon. You go to Customize Ribbon. Make sure that Developer tab is clicked, just in case you don't have that one. If you don't know where I'm getting this from, and then the big advantage really of the developer is to be able to do this and maybe to see macros a tiny little bit easier. I don't know. I don't use the add-ins much. Okay, so we want to be able to move it. Now, if you could also take an active X control and do essentially the same thing with this. And actually, that turned out to be a way to do it. Now, the key for the list box is if it's a single entry, then it's just like the combo box. There's nothing to do, but there's no advantage to it. For a multi-entry, and for a multi-entry, what we'll do, I'm just going to quickly illustrate this. Go to the input range. Of course, go to another sheet, back to the same sheet, our windscreen wiper method, and take this. The reason you go to one sheet and then the other sheet is because eventually we'll want to copy this to the graph. So if I press the control key down, whoops, excuse me, that was kind of bad. If you go to multi-entry instead of single entry, that was on the form control. That's how I got there to go on the form control. If I go to multi-entry, oops, I don't want to hit the control key. I hit this and this, I get 2 things. That's really what I want. That's the big advantage of the list box. Now, when you use this list box with multi-entry here, the first thing you have to do is you have to make a macro. And then in the macro, you have to find the name of the list box. That's almost one of the most painful things to do. Luckily, it's not really so bad. I'll show you. Luckily, it shows up in the name box for some reason. And then you select the name box, you select the list box here, and then you use something called list.count. So this will be named something like list box 2 or something like this. It will be list box 2 up here. Do you see it where it says selection.list.count? That's the first thing. After you've done that, then you can make a little loop. Here, I made a little loop to just say, okay, let's take our cells. And then you take that and you can put the output into anywhere in the sheet. And then you can make an output variable. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to do this with the regular list box first, and then we'll show you how to do it with the ActiveX control. And I think you'll see that the list box actually has an advantage. So let's say we want to copy this and put this on the chart. That's eventually what we're going to do. I'm going to have to make this into 2 videos. Okay, and the nice thing is it just copies because you have made your little thing. Okay, now once you have that, okay, let's see if this works. Now if you right click, you have a multiple entry. Okay, now if you notice, if I click on this, oops, it says list box 4. Okay, now this is going to be a little bit of a pain. And I don't know how to do this because this one says list box 6. Why it said list box 6 and list box 4, I don't know why. Now, to really see how this works, here's what I did. I'm just going to admit I made a little macro, right-clicked on that, copied that, and pasted it to here, stop the macro. I'm going to delete this one, and right-click, and how about we'll assign the macro to the one we just did, which was macro 6, I believe. Okay, and then if we edit this, assign macro and edit, it says, I got the wrong macro. Shoot. Sorry about this. It must be in the last module. Okay. It said, excuse me for that, it was macro 2. Active sheet shapes array list box. Now, what you're going to, I think you can say, I think we can leave it with active sheet 6. We have found the sheet name, so you could remember this. The way it says active sheet shapes range array list box, or if you're like me, you might have to do this. And then remember, we say, well, let's say for I equal 1, 2, and then you put a selection, because we've selected the list box, and then you put dot list list count, if I remembered it, and it capitalized it. If you don't remember, you know, I put over here keys to list box, and we put list, and I put list count, and I did it wrong, so let me fix this. It should be like this, right? Okay. And then why don't we just, for now, put this into row number 27. We'll just put whatever we've selected into row number 27. Of course, that's not what you'll normally want to do. So what you can do then is put cells, and then we'll put cells is this wonderful thing. If you haven't really looked at the other macros, cells just is an output. It's like the index. It puts it wherever you want. So let's put plus 26, comma 1. We'll put it in comma 1 equal selection dot list dot list. You need a thing like this. Again, if you forgot, which I forgot, it's list, just like this, and I put the little macro like this, okay? And then we'll just do the next. Okay, next I. Alright, and finally, let's see if we have it. Okay, now instead of this being named this has to be a list box, list box 6 underscore change. It's gotta be something like this. Now, if I could have got that wrong, and perhaps, did you see it says listbox2 change? I am not sure if it requires caps. So I'm going to assign this macro to now listbox6 change. Now, it might not like this. Okay, oops. And it worked, because right now it put them all in. And let's take this one off, and oops, this one off. And I hate the fact that it's, oh no. And you know what we're going to do? How about this, to fix this? Let's do one more thing. Not this one, no. We need to go back to the assign macro and edit. And then how about we'll put range A26, 27 dot select. We have to select just something else, okay? And now let's try this. So, oops, I didn't really select the right ones. I hate that. And just a minute. Okay, excuse me, of course I made a mistake. I did the ultimate thing. Problem. What we just did is list them all. Okay, now what we really want to do is selected. I really should have used this one as well, and I apologize for that. And I hate it when I make these sort of mistakes and I'm not very clear. It's easy when you make a mistake in a video, I've discovered, to just kind of gloss over it. But the big thing is we need to use another variable, which I think you call an object. See, I've never taken a class in VBA or anything like that. It's selected. To test, we really need that selected to test. Okay, and what we do there is just simply put if selection dot selected we can put true, or you can leave that out, the true out. Okay, we need that one, and then we'll put the thing in. So right now, let's try again. So we have no data down in our special little number. And if I put this in, it puts oil and logs here. If I take logs out, it still leaves the logs in. And that's because we didn't clear out the data. So then if I put logs in, it clears it. And then if I would take logs out and take oil out, it still leaves the oil in from the last thing. So the final thing we really have to do is we have to go up, and before we do all of this stuff, okay, let's put for I equal 1 to, let's say, 10 or something. We don't know what we're going to do. And then cells I plus 26 dot clear. Okay, and we just have to clear this out. Okay, watch me have done it wrong. So if I put oil and logs, it will give me oil and logs. If we put just gas, it didn't clear it out. Just a minute. Okay, embarrassing. But you know, when I do this, I forgot to put in a column here. I just said I-26. So let's just review. Okay, so we have we clear out the cells, then we find the list box. Okay, and once we found the list box, then we select the appropriate item, and then we clear it. And these seem to be, for me, the minimum kind of things you need in a macro. Unfortunately, it wasn't quite that simple. You need to make a loop. You need to find the list box. You need to find these items. It's needless to say, it's taken me a long time, and I did not find a nice, clear description of this on the internet. So that's why I'm making this video. I'm stopping this video, and we're going to make a little more elegant list box next. Okay, so that's the end of this one.